fisherman, Aqua Duelist here, and today I'm giving you guys an update to my just awesome synchro frog Aqua Actress deck. Thanks to Brothers of Legend, this deck got a little bit more of a buff to it. We got some really good water support, so some of that helps this deck out. And speaking of Brothers of Legend, I actually pulled right before recording this video a really awesome just Starlight Astral Leviathan Dragon right here. I'm just so happy to finally pull my first Starlight. Sucks it wasn't, done on camera. It looks really beautiful, but, I only bought 3 blisters, and I just didn't see a reason to record, and then bam, this happens. So, it just looks so nice. So yeah, guys, if this video gets 10 likes, I'll record a just ultimate guide to this deck, because this is a very big brain deck. I feel like a lot of people just kind of look at it, they don't really know what's going on with it. Like, my opponents don't really understand it. So if you really want to learn how to play this deck, go ahead and harpoon that like button, and don't forget to harpoon that subscribe button, guys. It really helps the channel. A lot of you guys who watch these videos aren't subscribed, so it really helps. And we're going to go ahead and jump into the deck. So first off, 3 copies of Aqua Actress Tetra. Tetra here will essentially soft once per turn, get you a Aquarium card from deck to hand. So she is loopable. You can typically loop her for like 2-3 times at least. Most of the time I'm looping her like 3 times a turn, sometimes 4. You just gotta have relatively good hands for it, but it is very possible to do that and abuse her. So we'll go over the Aquarium cards when we get to it. So I actually had to cut Aqua Actress Guppy for this, and I'm playing 3 copies of Ice Knight. So what I was doing for a couple months, about 2 months in particular, I was playing 2 copies of Ice Knight and 1 copy of Guppy here. But I didn't like, there were a lot of scenarios where I didn't like getting that Guppy. She was kind of a brick. Because Guppy, her effect is soft once per turn. You can special summon Aqua Actress from your hand. So effectively, she would only work with the 2 other Guppies and then the Tetras. What Ice Knight does is he gives you an additional normal summon, but you're locked into water monsters. So yeah, he's basically Guppy, except he works with everything. And because, it's an additional normal summon, it's essentially another body you can get on the field when your opponent's playing, Bear Statue of the Wind, so that's something that's really nice. He does have another effect where he gains 400 for each Aqua that you control. So that's really nice. He can actually get up to 3,300, which is, not too hard to do. You can get 5 bodies on the field somewhat easily. A lot of people, when I played this at a tournament, they weren't reading his, they didn't know what he did. They didn't bother reading him, so a lot of times I just leave him on the field, and they would just try to attack into him like, okay, well, he's 3,300, so, your monster dies. And they're like, wait, what? Why? I'm like, dude, read the effect. It's literally on there that he gains it's part of his effect. He gains 400 attack for each Aqua that I control. So yeah, he essentially just does Guppy's job, but better, and he can essentially help push for game. Just kind of overall really nice, does a few things. One thing that you could argue is the fact that since he's a level 4, and Guppy's level 2, you can't make Toad, but we can still make Toad using this card, which we'll get into later. But yeah, all in all, he's just a much better Guppy, essentially. Now moving on, 3 copies of Swap Frog here. We're playing the Frog engine. I mean, everyone should know that. But real quick with Swap Frog, easily the best card in the deck. He essentially can get every water monster in your main deck, except for Ice Knight right here and the Barrier Statue to the grave. And you have so many ways to essentially just recycle and summon monsters from your essentially recycling like summon monster from your grave to where he's basically kind of like a gets you whatever monster you want essentially. So yeah, just really good card. Really nice to just bait out hand traps with. Most people when you play a deck, they're not going to know what your deck does, and the minute they see a swap frog, they're just going to gun their negates on that swap frog. Just if they ash it, it's like okay, you have a couple brain cells, or you do have some brain cells. If they effect veiler it or impermit, they're retarded because you can actually bounce it back to your hands. Because even though the effect to get that additional normal summon won't resolve, you still have to pay cost. And then you can just special summon, bounce it back. You get what I mean, guys. It's just really good for baiting negates and stuff. So obviously with the rest of the frog engine, gotta play 3 dupes. Dupes really good, and then 2 Ronatonin. Nothing else to really say about these guys. So next up, play another major combo piece here. Great Slime Jr. So a lot of people don't realize with this is the fact that with the effect, well, not him, but with this guy, you essentially normal, and you get if you have another copy of him in the graveyard, and let's say you have like a swap frog, which you get this guy in swap. That's 2 totally awesomes. But a lot of people don't realize, like, on his effect, the monster you summon from hand doesn't have to be a Gradle. It just has to be the same level. Some people try to call, you called me like, you can only special summon a Gradle. I'm like, no. From my hand at least. They're like, no, you can only special summon a Gradle from hand. No. I special summon a Gradle from grave, and the monster from my hand just has to be the same level. People just don't read cards. People are stupid. You are locked into waters if you do this, though. So if you normal summon for the effect, so yeah. Next up, 3 copies of Barrier Statue of the Torrent. Card's really good. It's Barrier Statue, locks you and your opponent into special summoning only water. So yeah, make this your opponent can't play. If your opponent's playing Wind Barrier Statue, both are on the field, nobody can special summon, so yeah. Then I played 1 copy of Tetsuo Erat Newman. The whole thing with this is just like a really nice one-of. It's basically like discount Barrier Statue in a sense, because you can send it to the grave off a swap, and then you have just a lot of ways to revive it. With this guy, if you just don't know what he does, he's a really old card. Neither player can special summon monsters with 1800 or more attack, so that's why I'm saying he's like a discount Barrier Statue in a sense. He's a decent stun card overall. If I'm going into like a game, or like maybe like game 2 or something or whatever, and I effectively, if I know what my opponent's playing, and I want to essentially stun them, I will try to get to this as soon as possible. Because you just got ways to access it, unlike Barrier Statue here. So yeah. Last up, playing 1 copy of Penguin Soldier. This is my Penguin Brave target. It's just the best target for it. I would like to play the Glacial Penguin, but I just don't have space for it. I wouldn't play Glacial Penguin for a Penguin Brave target. It's just Glacial Penguin's really good. Effectively, just we can loop, special summon monster, like level 3, level 2 lower, level 3 lower monster, Aqua monsters, sorry. So if Glacial Penguin gets summoned, you basically just get to pop a monster. So yeah, looping that would be really cool. Actually, just throwing out there as like a tech option for any of you guys. I would recommend it as a tech, but I just don't have room in my build, or my current builds. But it is something like, if I could possibly fit in, I would. I just want to throw out there. Now going off to the spells. So first up, Aquarium Stage. All 3 of the Aquarium cards have this effect where if they're sent from field to grave, you you get to special summon an Aqua from your graveyard. No stipulations, nothing, just it has to be an Aqua. So just this way we all know. All Aquarium cards have that. Now with Stage in particular, what this one does is it makes it to where monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle with non-water monsters. So if your opponent's not playing water, they're not going to be able to just run over your stuff. And then it has an effect where Aqua Actress are just unaffected by opponent's monster effects. Next up, 2 copies of Aquarium Set. With Set, water monsters you control gain 300 attack. Aqua Actress specifically will gain 600. Opening 1 honestly isn't bad. There's a lot of times I find we're just having like 1 on the field essentially makes it to where my opponent's just not as easily able to just like they're not gonna have an easy time just run over my stuff. This actually has stopped my opponent from running over stuff before. Stop it. Alright, sorry Dolphy. My cat was trying to break into a drawer. So, picking back up in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so next up, 1 copy of Aquarium Lighting. Now, some of y'all are probably thinking, why are you playing this if your only Aqua Actress is Tetra? What this card essentially does is Aqua Actress I control during damage calculation, their attack and defense basically double. So yeah, even though I'm only playing 3 copies of Tetra now, it's still overall just a nice one to have because Tetra being, this really nice just 3k beat stick with, my setup unaffected by monster effects is actually like stupid, like straight up. And at times your opponent just kind of forgets, about the back row sometimes. But yeah, so that's it for those. Now, I do want to point out, out of the tournaments I've taken it to, nobody has still dared to pop any of these because the fact that I keep a Totally Awesome in grave. You essentially keep a Totally Awesome in the grave, you start to gain control over your opponent because if they essentially pop any of these, they have to deal with the Totally Awesome, and a lot of people are just afraid of Totally Awesome. So, but the issue is though, if these are still on the field, it makes your overall board presence harder to deal with and just becomes a threat. So, these in combination with keeping a Totally Awesome in grave, good players aren't going to essentially be popping these, try to pop these. So it can essentially just kind of get into this weird like mind game kind of thing where you're slowly taking control over the game state. So just wanted to throw it out there, guys. That is something major I felt like that needed to be addressed in the deck profile itself, and we'll go more in depth in the ultimate guide if it gets made. So next up, 3 copies of Ready Fusion. There is no substitute to this card, guys. Pay 1,000. It's basically instant fusion, except non-effect fusion monsters. This is essentially 3 copies of another tuner for Needle Fiber. So we do play Sea Monster Theseus. So yeah, you have to play it for this variant. Next up, 3 copies of Surface. Basically a monster reborn. Special summon a level 3 or lower, Aqua. That's all we play in the main deck, so yeah. But it goes in defense, which actually isn't bad at all. So yeah, it's monster reborn. 2 copies of Surface. That's 2 water monsters with 1,500 attack or less from your graveyard to hand. I think 2 honestly is still just good. Last deck profile I made on this, I just bumped it down to 2, and I still just feel like with everything going on, 2 is just the best way to go. 3 is kind of too much, for now. 1 copy of Foolish Burial, because it's Foolish Burial. We can get our frogs engraved and such. 1 copy of 1 for 1. Help get us Tetra or even Tetsuo Irat Newman if needed. 1 copy of Monster Reborn because it's just good. 1 copy of Instant Fusion, which is basically a 4th copy of Ready Fusion. So we're essentially playing 7 tuners in the main deck. Really can't wait for my dual tournament print to come in so I can stop playing with that filthy common. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Now, going off to the extra deck, I play 1 copy of Link Karibo. Sometimes just comes up because we need to get a Tetra off the field to, basically summon it from the graveyard. So, comes up in that scenario sometimes. 1 copy of the Degenerate Needle Fiber hashtag I need to kill myself. I feel like I honestly use this card wrong because I mostly will use it to essentially help make Toad do double Toads a little easier. And, essentially go for an extra negate on my opponent's turn. 1 copy of Marince's Coral Enemy literally just special summons all of our main deck monsters, like from the grave back to the field. Actually, yeah. No, yeah, it does work with all of our main deck monsters because they all meet the requirement of it. So, yeah. And then 1 copy of Marince's Great Bubble Reef. The more I play it, the more I realize this card's just better and better. She's a really nice beak stick. Konami, please give us, more generic water Link 4s, though, because it's the only one we got. With her, she has this effect where during standby, you banish water from grave, and then you get to draw a card, and then each time a card gets banished, she gains 600 for the turn, so yeah. In tandem with your, Ronotonins, she gets pretty beefy, and then just that, standby phase draw, which you can do on yours and your opponent's turn, collectively just gets you a lot of pluses. You don't need, this, like, all your monsters are 3-ups for the most part, so you really just don't need to have all 3 engraved, so she's just free draws. That's it for the links. Now going off to the XCs. 1 copy of Bahama Shark. I did say, Ice Knight can get you into Toad. If you happen to go double Ice Knight or like Ice Knight and a bear statue, you can make Bahama Shark and use that to make Toad. The whole reason why, I thought about playing it was, if, let's say, I get the double Ice Knights or Ice Knight and bear statue. I don't want to just, drop that bear statue and leave it unprotected. So, in that particular scenario, I could at least make this and get a negate, which, isn't too bad. Now, if you don't want to play this specifically, this is my 15th slot card. You could play Coral Dragon, which honestly isn't a bad option. You could play the, Time Wizard Fusion for, just trolls and lulls, basically. Crystal Wing, which is like a level 7 synchro, isn't a bad option. There's one more I was thinking of that wasn't bad either. There's basically like 4 or 5 cards I just kind of keep flopping back, flop around with to see what I like the best. So far, what's really just worked the most for me has been, Coral Dragon, and then the Time Wizard Fusion. Even though that's, pretty chancy. I've won 5 games out of the 7 games that I've activated the Time Wizard of Tomorrow's Effect. So yeah, just wanted to throw out a couple options there if you don't want to play Bahama Shark. Those are a few good options, I feel. Next up, Triple Toad. Gotta play Triple Toad. It's totally awesome. There's nothing else I can say. This is just the best fuck you to your opponent. Negate and take their shit. Piss people off. Gain control of the game by keeping one engraved with your, aquariums on the field. For fusions, I played two Sea Monster Theseus. I think playing 2 is the correct amount considering you're playing, 3 ready fusions with 1 instant fusion. I think 2 is the way to go. There's just times where you open an instant fusion with a ready fusion. You can make both of these. But yeah, just 2 I think is good. Next up, I do play 1 Formula Synchron for, a needle fiber target. Get that free draw and, synchro on your opponent's turn. Like to synchro into Herald the Arclight because people disrespect this card, and you know what? It's also just a nice fuck you, basically. Macrocosmo and Negate. Oof. Well, like semi-Macrocosmo and Negate, Just, ooh, good stuff right there. For another needle fire target, I like to play Quandax here. Can't believe I forgot this card existed in my last builds. I wasn't playing it, or last deck profile, I wasn't playing it. Happy I am, because if I have Barrier Statue on the field, I have a water target for Needle Fiber, and with that, I could like to go into Penguin Brave here. With this, you summon a Penguin Soldier from deck. Your opponent can't do crap to it, and then quick effect, you get to flip that up. So, double Compulse on your opponent's turn. That sounds pretty cheeky and gay to me. So yeah, really nice. Just fuck you there. And I also do like to play the 1 White Aura Whale. This is just the best water synchro. Making this on your opponent's turn with Quandax you can. Ooh, that's a really nice interruption, because if this faggot right here is synchro summoned, you get to Raigeki your opponent. You get to make 2 attacks on monsters. And he does piercing, but wait, it gets even better. We're doing a special 4-for-1 deal right here. This dude will literally, if your opponent just gets rid of him, he comes back by just banishing a water monster. So, you outed this guy? Well, guess what? He's right back. Now, since he special summoned from the grave, and not synchro summon, you don't get that Raigeki effect. But you know what? Your opponent wasted some resources to out this big motherfucker, and now he's just back. Ooh, that's just a nice, punch to the balls to your opponent. So, make them regret their life decisions. So, really good card. So, guys, I hope y'all just really enjoyed this deck profile. And like I said, guys, 10 likes. 10 likes is what we need for this ultimate Aqua Actress guide to just happen. So go ahead, harpoon that like button, guys. Harpoon that subscribe button if y'all want to see some awesome content. The link in the description down below to my Instagram if you want to check that out. And I'll see y'all in the next video, guys.